It's easy to look at a drum and think that we know what it sounds like. It's even easy to look at a drum and think we know what sounds it could sound like. But the fact of the matter is that the number one thing coming at us in the musical world is the idea that we need to buy a sound. A new drum, a new cymbal, not necessarily the case. Before you hear these drums, I bet if you've ever seen our show at all, you have an idea of what they might sound like. But it really depends on which episodes you've seen, because we've done a lot of things with these drums. When it comes to equipment, we get told a lot about how things need to be versatile. They need to be complicated. They need to have all of these features. When in reality, versatility is actually up to us. What we do with these instruments is up to us. And we really stretch the boundaries today. Now we're going to show you how. The first giveaway might be the front head on the bass drum, which you might be able to see just a little bit. Second giveaway might be the head choices on the toms and the snare. What are they telling you? Are they telling you a sound? Or are they telling you a preconceived expectation of what one might do if they chose those heads? In truth, just as a drum isn't a sound, a drum head's not a sound either. Doesn't mean anything. It's all about what we do with it, and that is where sound actually comes from. The heads that are on the toms, we've used them in a video already. We didn't even change them, but I did tune them differently. And not because of what they are. Instead, because what we chose to do today is take our preconceived notions about what a drum set of these sizes with these materials is supposed to be and see how far away we could get from that. Before we go any further, I want to talk down the specs of these drums today for anyone that hasn't seen them in previous videos. These are Pearl Masters Maple Custom Extras. We have 12 for the rack tom, 16 for the floor tom, 22-inch bass drum, and 14-inch snare. These are the 6-ply version, the extra, versus the 4-ply standard, which is meant for louder, more aggressive, generally punchier playing styles. So today, we decided to ask the age-old question, they will rock, but will they jazz? Jazz is a pretty broad art form. It's been around for a long time now, and the gear selections and also sound choices have changed a lot over the years. But it is fair to say that at one time, jazz drums were big. At other times, jazz drums were small. Also, at times they were tuned low to sound enormous, and at other times they were tuned as high as they would go to take up as little space as possible in small ensembles. A lot of people think that the reason why jazz drums got smaller was just so you could fit them in your car. Surely that's a convenience, but depending on whether you're playing with a trio all the way up to a big band, we have to make sonic choices for what's going to fit in that space, and surely that's going to affect what drums we choose to use. This doesn't mean that you need to have 12, 14, 18 to play jazz or to tune them high. You can tune your drums however you wish, and the only thing standing in between you and maybe this kind of sound, or maybe an even more extreme version, is trying it out. We've already thrown around a stylistic term, we're calling it jazz, but in reality what we're looking at here is full heads on both sides of all of the drums, minimal muffling, and they're pitched up a fair amount for the sake of articulation and to sit together in a certain kind of way. Let's check this out in a few different styles and feels, starting with a simple backbeat groove and a couple of fills. This sounds pretty good to me. It's a sonic choice that is a little left of center for this sort of playing. What if we move toward a Mike Clark or a Billy Martin kind of funk idea? This This is actually super appropriate for this because those players chose these sounds. Mike Clark's case back in the day, and Billy Martin right now. These sorts of tunings are also super effective for Latin styles and Pan-African playing, depending on what's appropriate for the gig that you're on. Like, check it out. Part of what makes it really fly for both Latin and Afro-Cuban and African styles is that the indigenous music from those places is hand drums, and those drums are, by virtue of what they need to be able to do, tuned pretty high. This is both for sitting in ensemble playing and also for cutting through the mix of an ensemble if you need to reach out and speak with one of the smaller drums. Finally, as you heard before, this is super appropriate for jazz playing, straight ahead, bop, anything where you want to have that higher sound that's going to be articulate, clear, and allow you to play low volume stuff and then jump out when you want to hit it harder. If this seems like an advertisement for the versatility of this drum set, it's not. This has nothing to do with the specs of these drums, what they're made of, what year they came out, what the brand is, or the finish, or any of that stuff. This is about the versatility of your drum set and you sitting at it at home. It doesn't matter what you have at all. There is more than one amazing sound in that set of drums. It doesn't matter if they were expensive or cheap, how long you've had them, if you've got them as a hand-me-down from your dad, whatever. This is about learning to be a versatile musician because you are in charge of the sound. The drum is inert until you choose to make it make a certain sound. Naturally, it stands to reason that the world of marketing and drum gear wants to sell you things. They don't want to sell you ideas because ideas are free. But if they have the idea planted in you that you can purchase a sound, surely I'm susceptible to this too. I've done it lots of times. And I spend my career trying to get further and further away from the idea that I can purchase a sound because at the end of the day, all I'm going to have is a whole bunch of drums that I'm probably going to end up tuning similarly anyway because I know what I like a snare drum to sound like. We here at the show have seen a lot of drums. We have seen a lot of cymbals. We've seen a lot of heads and sticks and all sorts of ways to make sounds out of a drum set. And what we've learned over all of that time is that the person sitting behind the kit with a drum key, a stick, and their ears is in charge of the sound that is produced by that kit. It's the same reason why two people playing the same kit tuned the same way with the same sticks on the same day doesn't sound the same. The main thing that we want you to take away from this discussion is that inspiration resides in you, and getting away from the idea that you can purchase inspiration via a new instrument or some other kind of implement and instead dig into what you already have and your own musicality to find inspiration is going to give you a richer experience as a musician, keep your money in your pocket, which matters, and teach you a lot more about this instrument that we love and play every day that festooning ourselves with more stuff is only going to distract from. There's a danger in the pattern of new instrument to get a new sound. And this is ultimately a creativity stifling process because we're taking away the time, the energy, and the focus that is required to address our own creativity in favor of giving ourselves a dopamine rush and feeling excited about a new thing to look at and a new thing to hit that ultimately is going to get siloed into a sort of sound because we're going to get used to it. and then it's not going to be inspirational anymore, and then we have to go buy that inspiration again. Rather than getting into that kind of pattern, let's consider the idea of retraining ourselves to get this rush of excitement and inspiration through exploration. And if we're going to change something out, consider changing out the head or the implement or the muffling, something like that, because these are A, a lot less expensive, and B, each one of those is going to show you a different character of this instrument that's already in front of us and truly give us a sense of our own versatility and also a wider breadth of things that we actually want to hear. The challenge that we gave ourselves today is the challenge that we're giving you as well. Sit down at your drum set, consider what your standard expectation of those instruments is, and then consider just how much of a deviation you can make. It doesn't need to be extreme or ugly necessarily. Just look at those drums and experiment with tuning and sound as far away from your built-in expectation as you can get. This is not to see how extreme you can be. This is about the journey and checking out all the stopping points along the way. In the case of these drums, it's a rock kit, so we tuned it for jazz. If you have little drums, see what they can do at a really low tuning with a pillow in the kick or something like that. This is all about the process of actually understanding what the instruments will do, what they don't like to do so much, and the inspiration that doesn't just come from a destination, but from the journey along the way to that destination. The purpose of today's episode really is the purpose of this whole show. It's to help you through tuning and tone to access your own creativity and get as much of the rest of everything out of the way so that you can find exactly what you're looking for in the sound and grow along the way. If you want cheat codes, if you want shortcuts, that's fine. Some people will be satisfied with that for a lifetime. But if you want to move beyond that and really take control of your sound, we want you to be able to bend this instrument to your will and not the other way around. So if you enjoyed what we did today, come with us, try it out. We'll see you next time.